Hit the recording button. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar this evening. We are happy to be introducing the webinar provider, Hind Elyas. Hind Elyas works as an English instructor at Niagara College in Saudi Arabia. She has a breadth of experience as a trainer and is the former acting vice president of TESOL Sudan. Her current roles include the executive secretary at Africa TESOL, the PD coordinator at Kasalat TESOL in Saudi Arabia, and a member of an advisory board at National Geographic. Hind is a GI-SIG Issues Month coordinator at IATFL and was recently appointed to serve on the TESOL International PDP. Her research interests include student engagement, 21st century learning, and differentiation in the classroom. So her webinar today is entitled Lifelong Learning Skills in the 21st Century Classroom. So please help me in welcoming Hind Elyas to give us her presentation this evening. Hind, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Iman. I just want to share my screen. Okay.
Hello, Hind, are you there? It seems like we lost Hind. Hind, are you there?
Okay, can you see my screen?
Okay, something is happening. We can't see it yet. Yep. Now
Okay.
you can see it, yeah.
Okay, is the camera working?
The camera is not working, but the screen is working. We can see your screen.
It's strange, the camera stopped with the screen sharing.
Okay. Hold on. Can you try your camera now? Should work. It's okay, and we can start without the camera, and then we can try it again later during the question and answer session.
Okay. All right. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining my session. My presentation is Lifelong Learning in the 21st Century Classroom. So if you look at this picture, It's a funny juxtaposition, but it's true. Our TVs are 20 pounds lighter than they were in the past, but now, and we've put on 20 pounds of weight. Our Nokia phones were so durable when we dropped them, but our iPhones cost as much as an organ, and they scatter to pieces at the slightest touch. The development of technology has considerably improved our lifestyle. It has made its impact felt on each and every aspect of our lives, including communication. Everything has a positive and negative impact, and technology is the same. It comes as a mixed bag. So if you look at the slide, it shows us the advantages of technology. It makes life easier. It leads to fewer mistakes, and it saves time. The disadvantages, and we're probably facing this, we are actually facing this today. It reduces face-to-face communication. It makes people lazy, and it causes job loss. Okay. So if you think about the changes that, if you brainstorm changes from elementary and secondary school years to life today, there are lots of different changes and lots of things that have developed. Think about the changes in transportation, methods of purchase, different jobs, careers, and electricity. So if we look at the differences differences in these things today, we'll find that so many things have changed. Let's think about our students. When we're talking about our students in terms of these changes, teachers need to ask themselves two important questions. The first question is, what do I need to do as a teacher to help students strive and survive in the 21st century? And what do I need to do to help the students progress in their classrooms? So this is a 20th century classroom. If you look at the classroom, it's not very inviting. It was based on, it's textbook driven. Learning was passive. It focuses on memorization. Learners worked in isolation, and it was teacher-centered, and with all these factors, it led to discipline and behavioral problems. So the framework of the 21st century focused on assessment and core subjects. So it was basically teaching to the test. The teacher teaches, and then we have core subjects and then assessment. In the 21st century classroom, it changed. As you can see, it has computers, it has visual aids, use of technology, and it's a very inviting environment. So the difference between the 21st century classroom and the 20th century classroom is that the 21st century classroom focuses on what students know, and it builds on that. Learning is active. Instead of focusing on memorization, it focuses on the skills that students need. Learners work in collaborative groups instead of working in isolation. It's student-centered, and because students are engaged and motivated, there are less, we don't have discipline problems. So if we compare the framework, the 21st century framework focuses not only on assessment, but 21st century assessment. And in the 20th century classroom, it focused on core subjects only, but now it developed into learning and thinking skills, ICT literacy, 21st century content, and life skills. So since the 1990s, educators and policymakers have been discussing the need for 21st century skills. So they introduced the 4 C's of communication. So the first one is communication, and it's sharing thoughts, questions, ideas, and solutions. In the technological age, it's much easier yet harder to communicate. Technology has provided us with more convenient ways to communicate, but one of the disadvantages is that it's very overwhelming. It can be more, sometimes people focus more on the technology being used rather than the actual message being sent. Without effective communication, there's no way to get anything done, whether it's inside or outside the classroom. The second skill is collaboration. And collaboration means working together to reach a goal. And it has definitely made communication easier. However, some breakdowns can happen. For example, the number of choices can get overwhelming, and this is very similar to communication. And the actual collaboration can get lost while we pay attention to the tool rather than the actual message. As the world gets more and more interconnected, collaboration will be a more essential skill than it already is. The third C is critical thinking, and it's looking at problems in a new way and learning across subjects and disciplines. So critical thinking is problem solving, reasoning, and evaluating. Critical thinking has been an essential skill in every century and every profession. It allows students to make sense of present content and apply it to their daily lives. One of the problems is focusing too much on the technology and depending too much on the technology. And this is what happened to me right now. It's easy to let the technology do the thinking for us. So in order to succeed in the 21st century, we have to remember that no matter how high-tech the machine is, it's useless without a person telling it what to do. The fourth C is creativity, and it's trying new approaches to get things done. It also involves innovation and invention. The 21st century is a fun time to be creative, thanks to technology. Not only are the traditional ways of creativity still available, but there are tons of new possibilities. For example, instead of just painting a picture, you can animate it, and you can arrange a piece of music on a computer without even learning how to play an instrument. So the 4 C's are not where the C's end. So in order to be successful, students need more than, according to Professor Michael Fullen, who's an educational researcher, to be successful, students need more than basic 21st century skills associated with the 4 C's. They need intrinsic desire to learn, grit, capacity to empathize, perseverance, and emotional intelligence. Professor Michael Fullen defines these as deeper learning competencies that students need to develop. So they came up with the 6 C's, 2 additional C's. So this is what the new framework looks like. The 6 C's, the first one is culture and citizenship. Citizenship and culture go hand in hand. Citizenship and culture focus on the importance of being in touch with everything that surrounds the individual. Culture encourages the individual to appreciate where we are from and where we are now and how we can move into the future. And it associates the individual to all that surrounds them, like art, drama, dance, poetry, history, science, religion, technology, and the individuals themselves. The second one, or the sixth one, is character education, and it refers to the qualities of the individual essential for being effective in a complex world. And as Michael Fullen mentioned, these are grit, perseverance, ability to empathize with others. It also includes honesty, resilience, and reliability. Character education means understanding the importance of human connectivity in a world filled with technology. And this is a very important skill to teach children. It also includes schools' commitment to helping young people become more responsible, caring, and contributing citizens. So there are many misconceptions about 21st century learning. So the first myth is 21st century skills focus only on technology. And that's not true. It doesn't focus only on technology. Focus is on helping the students meet the needs of their world. The second one, critical thinking is thinking hard, but it's only thinking hard and doing puzzles. It's more than that. Critical thinking and problem solving are the basis of 21st century, and it includes problem solving, reasoning, thinking, decision making, and evaluating. The third myth, collaboration and communication mean working in groups only, and that's not true. Collaboration and communication mean working coherently, valuing diverse ideas, tailoring messages to the audience, and achieving a common goal. The last one, creativity is only for artists. That's not true. Creativity helps students think creatively, work creatively, and implement innovation. So this is one of the 21st century skills that I'd like to talk about, and it's called the Genius Hour. It focuses on finding one's passion and building upon it. It's very interesting because you never know, the next invention might be from your own classroom. So passion drives what we all love and do. Without passion, the world will not be the way it is today. It took the passion of someone to invent the wheel. It took the passion of someone to invent chocolate. It took the passion of someone to invent video games. So the Genius Hour focuses on finding what the students are interested in. It could be anything at all, makeup, video games, football, whatever the students like. And this is a 21st century teaching method that's used in the classroom. So I'll go over the 6 principles of the Genius Hour, and that will explain it more. So what we do is that you divide class time. There's an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the work you do with the students is classwork. It's covering the curriculum, and 20% is the Genius Hour. And it's up to the teacher to divide this. It could be on a weekly basis or a daily basis, or every month, depending on the level of the students and depending on the curriculum and the syllabus. So the students do what they're very interested, what they like to do in the classroom with the teacher. And it's very interesting because they go through a whole research process, and they're learning without even knowing that they're learning. The second principle is having a sense of purpose. The purpose, first of all, it's student-centered, and students feel that they're doing the work on their own, and they have a sense of pride, and they're more motivated and engaged and interested in doing the activity and carrying out the active, coming up with something at the end. So this is the next principle, which is creating. So students are going to, at the end of the Genius Hour, students are going to make something or publish, design, act, or do. And this is one of the core principles of the Genius Hour. So they can decide what they want to do. If they want to come up with a play or a PowerPoint presentation or a video, so they design their own learning, and they feel, you know, responsible, and it gives them a sense of ownership, and they enjoy it. Another principle is socialization. Socialization, students get to interact with their peers, they get to interact with their teachers, they do role plays, they work together, they have questionnaires, they go and ask other people, they do surveys. So even for the students who are you know, shy, or who don't normally interact with the rest of the class, they'll be more open and willing to talk to other people and ask questions, and to find answers to their questions. Finally, the last principle is designing. So students are left to design their own learning experience. They think about what they want to do, and they think about their own project. They think about how they want to present it at the end. So they're designing their own learning experiences. So when you start the Genius Hour with the students, it's a good idea to have a discussion and talk to the students and ask them. There's some questions that you can go over with the students before they start the project. What are some of your current passions? Why are you passionate about this specific topic? Which question will you be researching? So they're going to have a research question, and they're going through a whole research process without even knowing. Why is this question important to you? What questions do you have about your topic, and what do you already know about your topic? What resources will you need? And finally, how will you present your information at the end? Okay, so my next activity is the fishbowl activity, and it's also a 21st century learning activity. It focuses on all the C's: collaboration, cooperation, critical thinking, and it's a cooperative learning structure for smaller groups or partner discussions. So in this activity, a small group is in the center, and the ones inside the small group, the ones sitting down, if you can see the PowerPoint, the ones sitting down, this is the fishbowl, and the ones outside are participants. So the ones inside the fishbowl engage in an activity, and they model how it's done for the larger group. It encourages, you know, collaboration, creativity, communication, critical thinking. So the first thing you do when you start a fishbowl is selecting a topic. You can give the students a few minutes to prepare their ideas and their questions, and these are the ones who are in the fishbowl, and they prepare their questions for discussion. So while the students are going to take turns. So the ones inside the fishbowl are engaged in a discussion, and then they get to swap. The ones inside go out, and the ones outside go in. And there are lots of different ways to structure this. You can either use the tap system, where the ones outside tap on the shoulders of the ones who are inside, and that means that they have to change places. Or after 15 minutes, you can just shout switch, and then they switch places. You can give them a form with different questions, or a template, so the students can know what questions to ask and what to focus on while they're observing. And for example, these are some of the questions. What is the name of the student you observed? Did this student provide new information that deepened your own personal understanding? And since they're observing one particular student, did the student help to further the discussion by asking questions, making connections, debating? Write down specific ways this student contributed to the discussion. So these are questions for the observers. And then there are also other general questions that can be for both. What did you observe during the discussion of the text? What's one thing you agree with? What's one thing you disagree with? And then how did you feel while you were outside of the fishbowl? And how did you feel when you were inside the fishbowl? So you can ask the students to reflect on how they think the discussion went and what they learned from it. And then they can evaluate their performance as listeners and participants. This next activity is the Think Aloud. And it's also a teaching strategy used to model how readers think as they read. It's a metacognition, thinking about your thinking, and it's described as eavesdropping on one's thinking. And it helps teachers verbalize aloud while they're reading a story. So, for example, if you're reading a story, you can model and show the students how it's done. For example, if you're reading, I'm going to read a part of Cinderella. So once upon a time, there was an unhappy girl named Cinderella. So you open the book while you're reading, and then to show them that you're thinking, you close the book. And then you ask yourself questions. And this normally happens when we are reading, because while we're reading a story or a text, there are things that go on in our heads as well. So for example, it could be, I wonder why Cinderella was unhappy. I'll underline the word unhappy and I'll look it up in the dictionary. So then you underline the word and you do whatever you want your students to do while they're reading. It could be underlining the word, it could be using Post-its and writing them down right away. So whatever you want your students to do, or whatever they're comfortable doing while they're reading, you do it while you're doing the Think Aloud. You can also do it by, as I said, opening the book and closing the book. Opening the book while reading, and when you close the book means you're thinking aloud. Or you can stand on one side of the class for reading and go to the other side for thinking. It's very interesting because my students thought I was crazy when I was doing this because I was talking to myself, but I was actually thinking aloud, and then they got the hang of it. And it happens to us all while we're thinking and reading a story or a text. So, so as I said, you do what you want the learners to do, like summarizing or underlining or using sticky notes. So the students actually get to reflect on what they've learned. So if you can see this bubble, you can, I have it here, but you can't see it. There are some questions that the students can ask, and these are the ones that I'm going to mention right now are for maybe lower level learners. These are the questions. What does this story remind me of? Did I understand everything I read? Can I see this in my head? What does this word mean? What do I think of this story? This story makes me feel happy or sad because what do I think will happen next? So this could be with a storybook. And then if I'm doing a more academic, like, reading something on recycling or the environment, you can use different questions. What do I think I would learn? What were the most important points? What more can I do to understand this? Do I have a clear picture in my head about this information? Do I understand what I read? What new information did I learn? Okay, and that's the end of the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And now it's time for questions and answers. If you have any questions,
Thank you very much, Hind, for the interesting presentation. I will start with questions that I received here in the Q&A session chat box. One question asked you, do you think that the integration of technology alone in the language classroom or any other classroom is likely to promote and develop students' 21st century skills as to function adequately and meet the requirements of the new jobs? So this is a question from Rafiq.
Actually, 21st century skills are we use them today, but I think that 21st century skills are using technology alone is definitely not enough, because we have lots of different students and lots of different types of learners. We have social learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners. Students like to learn in different ways. We have solitary learners who like to be alone. So, and not all students like technology. Like even for now, when I do Zoom classes with my students, not all of them like being online. Some of them are very happy with it, but some of them prefer to be in the classroom and having, you know, face-to-face communication. So technology does help, but to make sure to meet the needs of all the learners in the class, it's better to use, you know, lots of different styles and lots of different methods in classroom.
Okay, thank you. Another question I have for you, Hind, is in which group of learners does Think Aloud might work better? This is a question from April.
Think Aloud. Well, it could be for the auditory learners, I think, because they're actually thinking aloud and they want to hear things. And it could also be, yeah, maybe auditory learners. I think it would be, yeah, people who actually, you know, are actually thinking aloud and they hear their questions. And so I think, yeah, maybe auditory learners.
Okay. Another question from Abigail, and she wants you to explain again the fishbowl method. She didn't get the fishbowl method right.
Okay. I have okay, so in the fishbowl activity, you have, I'll just go to the slide. Okay. Yeah, so fishbowl activity, you have students who are inside the fishbowl, the ones who are sitting down. This is the fishbowl, and they talk about a particular topic, and they have a discussion. And the ones who are standing outside the fishbowl are just listening. So, and they're evaluating the ones inside. So, for example, one of them would focus on a particular a student in the fishbowl, and then you ask that person to write who they're observing, write the name, and to see how the student you know, was involved in the discussion and how she contributed, and was she asking questions, was she making connections, debating, did she give you new information about the topic, like is she explaining the topic well, did it deepen your own personal understanding, and of course you write the name of the student. So then the ones inside are maybe more experienced, and then the ones outside are just watching them, and then they're going to take turns, and then they're going to switch places. So the ones inside the fishbowl are going to go out and be observers, and you know, think about a particular student and then ask them questions. And the ones inside, you can give them 10-15 minutes to prepare their discussion, and then discuss the topic while the others observe. Is it clear, or?
I think for me it's clear. I hope it's clear for
Okay.
Abigail who asked the question. Another question related to the fishbowl activity is that what is the aim for the fishbowl activity?
The aim of the fishbowl activity is to get the students to, discuss questions, and I used it in my class with PET and KET exams, where students have to talk about, they're given a scenario and they have to, talk about it and describe what they can see in a picture, or, just to get them to discuss and talk and improve their thinking skills and communication. They can communicate better and be able to express themselves.
All right, there is a question from Caetano. He's asked, how can teachers apply best these 21st century skills in large classes?
Large classes, you can divide them into groups. So if you have a class of maybe 40, you can put them in smaller groups and then get them to work together. I actually did have at one point here, I had almost 50 students in the class. So divide them into cooperative learning groups where each one has a role. It also depends on the size of the actual classroom. But if you put them in groups of 5 or groups of 7, it could work. And you can give them different activities. So you'll have to give them, you can give them different activities to work on at the same. They don't have to be working together. In their groups, they do work together, but group A doesn't have to work with group B. So you can just give them, different activities, and they work in they have their own learning stations.
I just saw, I'm not looking at questions in the chat box. I'm looking at questions in the Q&A session. But I saw an interesting question in the chat box, and I was also thinking about it. How can we use these skills effectively while teaching online, like the current predicament that we have now, where all teaching is shifted online? So how can we teach 21st century skills when we teach online?
I think teaching online is a new thing for everyone, including me. And there are lots of applications that you can use to teach online. Like, for example, there's a Class Dojo, where you can, divide the students into groups, and even when you're using Zoom, you can have breakout sessions, put the students in. Actually, online, it could be a lot easier with the breakout sessions, where you divide the students into groups of 5, and they work together, and then they come back to the main session. And then, so there are lots of different tools like, Zoom. I love the Zoom breakout sessions. They're great. And Bitmoji as well. It has different activities and different ways of dividing the students. There's a chart where the students, you can divide them, give them bonus points and stuff. So yeah, these are the ones that I've been using.
I think Shadia asked a similar question. Have you tried these activities online? And how do you?
Yeah, I've tried the Zoom breakout session, and it worked. It took a long time, but eventually it did work.
Very good. A question from George. How can we help the students that cannot cope with 21st century skills that has been exposed to them before?
Sorry, what's the question again? Sorry.
How do we help the students that cannot cope with 21st century skills that have not been exposed to them before?
I think, well, we can scaffold and, get them to use these activities step by step by, breaking things down, doing things one step at a time. Even like online teaching is new for a lot of people. And even when I did it with my class, with my students, I had to do things like step by, like it took a really long time to get them to do one particular activity. You just have to go through it very slowly and explain it to them, just do it step by step.
Okay,
I
we
hope I
have a
answered your
question
question.
from Zahra. How could I give students the opportunity to design their learning methodology if their level is A1 or less?
Actually, even no matter how low the level is, the students always have things that they're passionate about. And if they're really interested in something and they're very passionate about it, they will find a way to get it done. So I think the passion hour or the genius hour, it's not based on their level, but no, every single student has something that they're passionate about, and if you tap their passions, they'll just be very, very creative. For example, if a student likes makeup or likes art, and you ask her to draw a picture, she'll be very, very creative. And it's very interesting how we think that some of the students who are less confident students who would not be engaged, but every single student has something that they're passionate about. And if you find that passion, that thing that they really love, they'll definitely be very engaged and involved, and they'll find very creative ways to do their project. And you ask them what they want to do. You can give them examples, but they will be able to do it on their own because it's something that they're very, very interested in. Hello? Hello?
Yes, thank you, Hind. I have a comment and a question from Hassan Bider.
Oh, hello, Hassan. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for this fruitful presentation. I would like you, if you could think of using graphic organizers, which can foster collaboration, communication, critical and creative thinking.
Was this a question or a comment?
It's a comment, and he's asking you what you think about the use of graphic organizers.
I think graphic organizers are great because I use graphic organizers, and it really helps for visual learners and students who like to see things in front of them. So when you show them a graphic organizer, it helps break down the information. It makes it easier for students to learn and understand. So graphic organizers are great. Yeah, they definitely help students.
All right, great. A question from HS. How long is the discussion held by the participants in the fishbowl? I wouldn't want the listeners to start daydreaming if the others take too long.
Yeah, the discussion can take up like 15 minutes. And it depends on the topic itself. So I think 15 minutes is reasonable.
There is a question from David in the chat box. Can I use fishbowl with adults?
Yeah, absolutely. I use it with my students, and as I said, you can use it for different types of they can, if it's just a conversation class, you can get them to do it. So it can be used for any age group.
All right, so a question from Ahmed Mahmoud in the chat box. How do we keep the students focused and inculcate good behavior in them when it comes to 21st century skills?
We can keep the students focused by, actually, if they're engaged, the students will be focused. And just keeping them busy and not focusing only on one different type of learning skill. So if we have different types of activities, like activities for you get them to work in collaborative groups, and then they do pair work and then individual work, and then you get them to start running and play a game. that will help the kinesthetic learners. Then they listen to an audio. So you have lots of different types of learning activities that will help keep the students engaged and motivated.
Okay, I have a couple more questions about the fishbowl activity. It seems like it's a popular activity, Hint. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
So in the fishbowl activity, this is a question from Amal Hashim. In the fishbowl activity, do the students give each other any feedback?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, we are here. Can the fishbowl method be used to produce an argumentative writing task?
Yeah, absolutely. They can. They can.
Hint, there is echo.
Sorry?
There is echo. You are signed in twice.
Okay. I'll just close this. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, better now.
Okay. Can you see me?
No, we can't see. Oh, we can see you as well. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi. Okay, so sorry, Emma, thank you very much for coming. Can you
You are breaking up. We can't hear you. Hello, Hint. Are you there?
Can you repeat the question, Eamon?
You were breaking
Hello?
up. Yeah, you were breaking up. So the question about fishbowl method, can it be used to teach argumentative writing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes? Hello?
Yes, Hint.
Hello?
Can you hear me, Hint? Hello, Hint. Are you there?
Yes. Yes, sorry, my connection. Can you hear me?
We're better now. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
So the last question was about fishbowl and whether it can
Yes.
be used to teach argumentative writing.
Yes, actually, it can be used for argumentative writing because when you're brainstorming, you can get the students to brainstorm when they're inside the fishbowl, and then they discuss it when they're outside the fishbowl, or share ideas or go through the vocab or the sentence structure. So yeah, it can be used for. You can just break it down and divide it into different parts like vocab or sentence structure, and then the students discuss in the fishbowl, and then they go out and swap places.
Thank you. There is a question from Ajumani from Cote d'Ivoire. He says, do you mean that the future of teaching lies in the use of technology?
Well, I think the use of technology is very important, but there's also other activities that, I think it's better if we have a variety of different activities for the students, not only technology, because they will get bored if you're only using technology in the classroom. So it's better to use different types of activities, as I said, for different types of learners where they can, listen to an audio, or they definitely need to stand up and start running around the classroom no matter how old they are.
They need to stand up, walk around the classroom, especially at the end of the day, and play a game like a paper fight or a snowball fight or musical chairs with audio, like where they listen to an audio and they go around. They have these musical chairs. So yeah, it's definitely important for students to have different types of activities in addition to technology, but not depending completely on technology.
Okay, thank you. There is a question from Ellie, and this question is very relevant to our context in in Africa. How can the
Yeah.
foresters be applied in rural areas with lower resources?
Well, if as I mentioned, like most activities, that there are lots of different websites that have 5-minute game with no resources. So you can always use the materials that you do have in hand and use them for the activities, like just paper or stones or whatever resources you have. You can turn it into a game or have make an activity based on what you have. And there are lots of websites where if you just type in games or activities with no preparation, or games and activities with limited resources, so you'll find lots of activities that you can, just a piece of paper or any resources that you have available.
All right, so I think we have time for one last question, and this question will sum it up from Abdurrahman Idris. From all of this great information that you shared with us, what is the golden tip that you would share with us to take away today?
Okay, thank you very much, Abdurrahman, for attending. I think the golden tip is trying to first of all, like, I think the Genius Hour is a major activity that could be used in any classroom, and it's very important for us to find our students' hidden talents, because every single student does have one, and you'll be surprised. It's really surprising when you find out that a specific student who's very quiet the whole term, and then she comes up with this amazing project. I say she because all my students are ladies. So yeah, I think this Genius Hour is really, really important, and there are lots of times where students are not miss hour motivates them and actually affects their performance in the actual classroom, where they're actually reading and writing the syllabus and the curriculum. So yeah, I think the Genius Hour is something that should be applied in all classes, because it really improves outcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Hind, for this insightful presentation, and thank you for answering all the questions that have been asked.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. Just a small correction. I think I butchered your college earlier when I introduced you. It's Niagara College, right?
Oh yes, Niagara College, Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Again, Hind is our own executive secretary at Africa TESOL. So thank you so much. And I would like to invite you all to attend our discussion, which will take place tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. And this is the last discussion that we will hold in a series of discussions about teaching English during COVID-19 experiences from Africa. And I shared the Zoom invitation in the chat box. So hope to see you again with us tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT. Thank you, Hind, for your time and the interesting presentation again. And see you all next time. Have a good night. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.